Hi artists! It's Ms. Messer, your friendly neighborhood art teacher. Today I'm going to teach you how to effectively shade a cylinder. Cylinders come up in observational drawing all the time, so I wanted to teach you how to draw and shade them so that you can be a stronger, more successful artist. Let's start by reviewing. In art, we have shapes, which are 2D or flat. And we also have forms, which are the 3D version of shapes. Think back to when we shaded a sphere. That's a 3D form, and that experience is going to help you a lot today. Today our goal is to shade a cylinder using complementary colors. Let's talk about some vocab before we get started shading. Again, we're going to be focusing on cylinders, and there are tons of items that are cylindrical, which you'll know how to draw better after completing this lesson. A cup, batteries, a can of pop, a soup can, a flower pot, all of that has a basic cylindrical form. Just like in our spheres, we are going to be using a light source. Remember that a light source is wherever the light is coming from. It could be from the sun or a lamp or even just the window. The light source creates a shadow underneath the cylinder. This shadow is called the cast shadow. We're going to be using complementary colors to shade. Complementary colors are across from each other on the color wheel. When mixed together, they make a dark color like a brown or a gray. Lastly, we will be cross-hatching, which is a fancy way of saying shading. It means to go one way with our pencils and then the opposite way to create value. So everybody's going to have a blank sheet with a cylinder drawn on it today. The next time you come in, we're going to learn how to draw the cylinders, but for today, the focus is on shading. And there are 4 basic steps. Step 1 is to add a light source. Step 2 is to crosshatch with colored pencil to create value. Step 3 is to crosshatch with a complementary color to push that value darker. And step 4 is to add a cast shadow and a line for the table. So step 1 is very important. It says to draw a light source. And that just means that you pick a side of your cylinder and you add a sun. Now that sun is to remind you where your light is coming from for when you start shading. Don't skip this step. Then you can grab a colored pencil and get started cross-hatching. Start on the side farthest from the light source, where you'll be shading the darkest. Why are you shading it the darkest, you ask? Because it's farthest away from the light. As you're shading, remember that a cylinder is round. The value is getting lighter as the light wraps around the cylinder. So you want to shade it in a way that makes it look round, not flat. And as you get closer to your light source, you're easing up on the pressure. The top of your cylinder can be shaded in a few ways. I shaded mine kind of a medium value. If you want your cylinder to look hollow, shade it darker. Step 2 is complete. We cross-hatched with a colored pencil. And step 3 is to use the complementary color to push the value a little bit darker. Check out the color wheel at your table to see which color is the complement to the one you just used. For me, it's red. Be just as intentional and thoughtful in your shading this time around. You'll only need it to add it to the darkest areas, but do remember that you're still shading the cylinder so that it looks round and not flat. Once I've added the shading and it's looking smooth, round, and even, I can go to step 4, which is to add my cast shadow. The cast shadow is the same shape as the cylinder and sits right underneath it. It's on the side opposite from the light source. Adding the cast shadow makes it look much more realistic, like it's not just floating in the air. You can use a pencil to shade the cast shadow. Then add a line behind the cylinder and above the cast shadow for a table. Okay, everyone, thank you for your listening today. I'm excited to see how you'll meet this creative challenge and to see how it makes you a better artist.